Hi everyone, Ralph McFall at Dharma Publishing. This is the second installment in the four we're calling Alternatives to Stories. So again, the idea is that the teachings of Tarthang Tulku offer different ways to understand our situation as human beings that can help us to evade some of the constraints and structures of the stories we've learned to tell ourselves, which often don't really penetrate to the core of how our difficulties arise or give us clear alternatives. So in the first episode we talked about Kumye Tibetan Yoga and how you can work with that, and today I want to talk about, again, about something that's body oriented, and principally is in the book Mastering Successful Work, which is the second book in the Skillful Means series. Show you what it looks like right here. And there's a wealth of material in this book, but today we're going to focus on the fact that it makes use of something talking about what we call 4 energy centers. So it's not in this sort of maybe more esoteric sense that in very advanced meditative practice in Tibetan Buddhism you would talk about it, but in a very simple, grounded, embodied way of just saying what is the energy and feeling present in the head and in the throat and in the heart and in the gut or the belly. And so we don't have to precisely have some precise image or do any visualization, but it's really checking in our embodiment. And Mastering Successful Work has 8 or 10 different exercises working with the different centers or linking them up or diagnosing imbalances, etc., etc. But I wanted to read a passage from the book that was for me a very striking example of using this way of thinking to, give you a more actionable take on the samsara, on our ordinary way of living that's sort of laden with frustrations. So at the end of this book there's a section called Reflections for My Students, and in that section Tarthang Tulku addresses his community of volunteers about questions about, well, this skillful means stuff is very nice and it's helpful, but is it Buddhism? Specifically, is it Mahayana Buddhism? So he gives a very interesting explanation. So it's a little bit of reading, but I hope you find it worthwhile. So the subsection is called Compassion and Caring. And he says, in Mahayana Buddhism, there is a strong emphasis on uniting wisdom and compassion. Perhaps the relation between awareness and wisdom seems fairly clear, but how is awareness related to compassion? This may be the crucial point. The connection we are looking for comes through caring. In order to see clearly what is happening in our lives, we must be willing to look. Often, however, we refuse to look because we are afraid of what we will discover. If we see something painful or difficult, we will have to act on it. And if we act, we may fail or may provoke unwanted reactions. To avoid this outcome, we may simply choose not to look in the first place, or else decide not to act on what we see. But the only way to support this deliberate ignoring is by not allowing ourselves to care. Without caring, we cannot develop compassion, not for the suffering of others, not even for our own suffering. Instead, we have to commit ourselves to supporting the status quo. No matter what theories we maintain, our actions proclaim that things in samsara are all right. So now we're going to get our diagnosis here, or antidotes. The Skillful Means approach counteracts this pattern of ignoring and forgetting. So that's kind of the culprits of our difficulties. It starts with the recognition that none of this would have to happen if we had confidence in our ability to act. It is because our guts are weak that our heart is closed, and it is because our heart is closed that our throat tightens and will not let us feel what is really happening. So that's for me, it was very striking when I first read that. At first, that he lays it at the doorstep of we don't have confidence in our ability to act. And it's like, oh, okay. But then we have a way to deal with that. He says, well, our guts are weak, so if we could strengthen that, and then other things would follow, because the weak guts leads to the heart being shut down, and then with the heart shut down, we don't want to know what we feel. Now, how do we enact what he was just talking about? It says, if we focus on work and commit ourselves to succeeding in what we do, this focused concentration strengthens the gut and frees our energy to move through the body. Knowing we can get good results, we can let our heart open. We no longer need to be afraid to experience our own caring. So again, it's kind of maybe not that difficult. We have to use our focusing ability as it already exists so we can start. And then I really like to commit ourselves to succeeding in what we do. So that's part of concentration in this way. It's like, yes, I am going to get this, figure this out, I am going to complete this, and that strengthens our gut energy, and then the whole cycle reverses itself, based on focus and on gut level energy. I'll read a little more just because it's nice to hear the whole unfolding. Based on caring, we can commit ourselves to being honest about what we are doing with our lives and accomplishing with our time. So caring for ourselves. Our honesty promotes awareness, and awareness stimulates the power of our intelligence and our 5 senses. Newly alive to experience, the throat opens so that understanding flows into the heart, completing the circle. So it's interesting how he's always coming back to the body. He's talking about awareness, so we're thinking, oh, head, or knowledge, or knowing. But he says, yes, awareness stimulates the power of our intelligence and our 5 senses. So it's always coming back to the fact that there's no minds that aren't embodied, at least that we know about. So we're always touching base there. And then to close the section, with our head, our heart, and our guts united, we can accomplish something meaningful for ourselves and beneficial for others, and enjoy a steady stream of understanding and insight. This is a skillful means way of uniting wisdom and compassion, the Dharma in action for the modern world. So, as I said, this book has like 8 or 10 different exercises that are simple to do and to cultivate, but again, give us a resource for shifting our situation. So it's like you can check. He says, how clear is the head, how open is the throat, how warm is the heart, how stable is the gut. So you can monitor, and then you can actually learn to adjust. And when you make the adjustments, then your mood shifts, and things in your perception shift. So you'll see opportunities you didn't see before, and things like that. So I hope that that's interesting for you. And as I said, Mastering Successful Work is the big reference for that particular insight. And then in the next episode, we'll use the same text and talk about awareness, concentration, and energy. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.